If you have been left feeling confused by a narcissist, it is not because it makes no sense. It is because you have not yet seen the pattern clearly. The way they surround themselves with people who enable their behavior, the way they react when challenged, the way they twist truth against you. It all follows a structure, and once you see that structure clearly, everything will finally begin to make sense. Because a narcissist does not build relationships in the way a healthy person does. They do not seek mutuality. They do not seek truth. They do not seek growth. What they seek, often without conscious awareness, is psychological survival through control of their environment. And to do that, they must carefully select who is allowed to remain close to them. Over time, they construct a surrounding world made up of three types of people: those who enable them, those who ignore them, and those who admire them. Each of these serves a function. Each of these protects the fragile structure of the narcissist's identity. The enabler helps maintain the illusion. They excuse behavior that should never be excused. They soften reality. They translate harm into misunderstanding, and in doing so, they become part of the narcissist's psychological defense system. The one who ignores does something equally powerful. They see what is happening, but they look away, perhaps out of fear, perhaps out of exhaustion, perhaps because it is easier to remain silent than to confront something that will not change. But their silence, whether intentional or not, becomes permission. And then there are those who encourage, who praise, who reinforce. These individuals feed what the narcissist depends on most: not love, not connection, but validation that protects them from facing what is deeply unresolved within. Now, here is where the dynamic becomes particularly important for you to understand. The moment someone enters this system and does something different, everything shifts. If you begin to question, if you begin to hold them accountable, if you begin to reflect back reality instead of distortion, you are no longer part of their protective structure. You become a threat, and not a small threat. You become a direct challenge to the very foundation of how they hold themselves together psychologically. Because at the core of this personality is something they cannot tolerate: a deep fragmentation, a deep instability, a sense of self that is not cohesive or secure. So when you bring truth into that system, it does not feel like correction to them. It feels like annihilation. And this is why the reaction is so predictable. They will not engage with your truth. They will not reflect. They will not sit with what you are saying in a grounded, adult way. Instead, they will reverse it. They will take the very thing they are doing, and they will place it onto you. If they are manipulative, you become manipulative. If they are dishonest, you become dishonest. If they are abusive, suddenly you are the abuser. This is not confusion. This is a defense, a very primitive, but very powerful psychological defense known as projection. And it serves one purpose: to remove the unbearable feeling of being wrong, flawed, or exposed, and to relocate it outside of themselves onto you. And here is where it becomes even more painful, because you might expect, at the very least, that those who see the truth would speak, that those who know what is happening would step forward. But often, they do not. They remain silent, but their silence is not always agreement with the narcissist. It is often a reflection of their own fear, their own inability to tolerate conflict, their own investment in keeping the system stable. Because once truth is spoken, everything changes, and not everyone is willing to face that. So you are left in a very difficult position. You will be the one who sees clearly, the one who names what is happening. And because of that, you are the one who is pushed out, blamed, and misunderstood. But here is what must become clear to you. This does not mean you are wrong. It means you have stepped outside of a system that depends on distortion to survive. And once you see that, something begins to shift. From experience, unconsciously, you will stop expecting accountability from someone who is structured to avoid it. You will also stop seeking validation from those who are invested in the silence. And you will begin slowly to return to your own sense of reality. Because the real danger is not just the narcissist's behavior. It is the gradual erosion of your confidence in what you know to be true. So your task is not to convince them. It is not to win the argument. It is not to expose them in a way that forces change. Your task is to remain anchored in reality, to trust what you see, to trust what you feel, and to understand that being blamed in this system is not a sign of failure. It is often the clearest indication that you are no longer participating in the illusion. And that on its own is very powerful. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I will see you in the next one.